What happens when a black commander gets betrayed by his own army, kicked out, and then comes back years later to stop a coup? You're not going to believe how he makes history. Hey, it's your guy here with a story that's going to hit you hard. We're talking about a black commander who gave everything for his country, only to get stabbed in the back by the people he trusted most. But he doesn't stay down. He comes back stronger, smarter, and ready to fight for what's right. This is all about revenge, loyalty, and showing the world what real leadership looks like. Let's dive in. It's a humid summer morning in 2015, deep in a military base just outside Atlanta, Georgia. The air smells like fresh-cut grass mixed with the sharp tang of gunpowder from the training fields nearby. The base is buzzing with activity. Soldiers in camouflage uniforms jog in formation, their boots pounding the dirt paths, while others load crates of supplies into big green trucks. Humvees rumble in the distance, their engines growling as they head out for a drill. The sky is a bright blue, dotted with a few fluffy clouds, but there's a tension in the air, like everyone knows something big is about to happen. At the center of it all is Commander Isaiah Jackson, a 38-year-old black man who's built like a linebacker. Broad shoulders, strong arms, and a presence that makes people stand a little straighter when he walks by. Isaiah's got a shaved head, a few scars on his face from his years in the field, and eyes that can go from warm to ice cold in a second. He's wearing his army uniform, the stars on his shoulders shining under the morning sun, his combat boots polished to a mirror finish. Isaiah's been in the Army for 15 years, climbing the ranks through sheer grit and skill. He's led missions in some of the toughest places in the world. Deserts, jungles, war zones where every day could be your last. He's the kind of leader who'd take a bullet for his team, and they do the same for him. Right now, Isaiah's standing in the command center, a big room filled with maps, radios, and screens showing live feeds from drones. The walls are covered in charts and photos of known threats, and there's a faint hum from the air conditioning unit, struggling to keep the place cool. Isaiah's looking over a report about a new training program he's been working on, one that's supposed to make his unit the best in the country. He's proud of it. He spent months putting it together, making sure every detail is perfect. His team's counting on him, and he's not about to let them down. But as he's reading through the report, the door to the command center swings open, and in walks Colonel Richard Bennett, a tall, wiry white man in his 50s with a buzz cut and a face that looks like it's never smiled. Bennett's Isaiah's commanding officer, but there's no love lost between them. Bennett's old school, the kind of guy who doesn't think black soldiers belong in leadership roles, no matter how good they are. He's made that clear over the years with snide comments, extra scrutiny, and passing Isaiah over for promotions he deserved. Isaiah's learned to deal with it, keeping his head down and letting his work speak for itself. But today, Bennett's got a look in his eye that says, trouble's coming. Jackson, Bennett says, his voice cold, like he's spitting out the name. We need to talk. Now. Isaiah sets the report down, standing up straight, his hands clasped behind his back. Yes, sir, he says, his tone steady, though he can feel the tension building in the room. What's this about? Bennett steps closer, his boots echoing on the tiled floor, and tosses a folder onto the table. It lands with a thud, paper spilling out a little, and Isaiah can see his own name on the top sheet. You're done, Bennett says, his voice sharp. You've been relieved of your command, effective immediately. Pack your stuff and get out. Isaiah feels like the floor just dropped out from under him, but he doesn't let it show. Relieved? He says, his voice low, his eyes locked on Bennett. On what grounds, sir? I haven't done anything wrong. Bennett smirks, a cruel little twist of his lips. Doesn't matter, he says. We've got reports, anonymous of course, saying you've been mishandling funds, leaking intel, putting your team at risk. I don't need to prove it. I just need to say it. And I'm saying it. Isaiah's hands clench into fists behind his back, but he keeps his face calm. He knows what this is. Bennett's been looking for a way to get rid of him for years, and now he's found it, or made it up. The accusations are lies, every single one of them. But in the Army, a colonel's word carries more weight than a commander's, especially a black commander's. Those reports are fake, Isaiah says, his voice steady but with a fire behind it. You know that, and I know that. I've given everything to this unit. My blood, my sweat, my years. You can't just throw me out like this. Bennett leans in, his face inches from Isaiah's, his breath hot and sour. I can, and I will, he says. You don't belong here, Jackson. Never did. Go back to where you came from. This army doesn't need you. The words hit Isaiah like a punch, but he doesn't flinch. He thinks about his dad, a Vietnam vet who came home to a country that treated him like dirt, who still told Isaiah to hold his head high no matter what. You're better than their hate, his dad would say, his voice rough but warm. Isaiah's carried that with him his whole life, through every mission, every late night, every time someone like Bennett tried to tear him down. And now, standing here, he knows he's not going to let Bennett win. But for now, he's got no choice. Bennett's got the power, and Isaiah's out. By the end of the day, he's packing up his office, a small room with a desk, a chair, and a few photos on the wall. Him with his team after a successful mission, him getting his commander's stars, him with his wife and 2 kids at a base picnic. His soldiers watch from a distance, some of them whispering, others looking angry but too scared to speak up. Isaiah's best friend in the unit, Lieutenant Jamal Carter, a wiry black man with a quick smile, tries to talk to him, but Isaiah just shakes his head. Not now, Jamal, he says, his voice quiet. I'll figure this out. That night, Isaiah drives home to his small house in the suburbs, the streetlights casting long shadows on the road. His wife, Aisha, is waiting for him, her face full of worry as he walks in. She's a nurse, always steady in a crisis, but tonight she looks shaken. What happened? She asks, her voice soft, her hands reaching for his. Isaiah sets his duffel bag down, his shoulders slumping for the first time all day. They kicked me out, he says, his voice breaking just a little. Bennett made up some lies and they believed him. I'm done. Isha pulls him into a hug, her arms tight around him, and for a moment Isaiah lets himself feel the weight of it all, the betrayal, the anger, the loss. But even as he stands there, he knows this isn't the end. He's a fighter, always has been, and one day he's going to make Bennett regret this. Fast forward 5 years and it's 2020. Isaiah's life looks a lot different now. He's out of the army, living in a small apartment in Atlanta, working as a security consultant for a private firm. It's not glamorous. He mostly deals with rich folks who need someone to check their alarm systems or escort them to fancy events. But it pays the bills. He's still in shape, still carries himself like a soldier. But there's a heaviness in his eyes that wasn't there before. He misses the army, misses his team, misses the feeling of leading men and women who'd follow him anywhere. Every now and then, he'll pull out an old photo of his unit, staring at the faces of the soldiers he'd give anything to see again. Aisha's still by his side, working long shifts at the hospital, keeping their family together. Their kids, Malik, who's 12 now, and Nia, who's 9, are growing up fast, asking questions about why their dad doesn't wear his uniform anymore. Isaiah tells them stories about his missions, leaving out the worst parts, trying to make them proud of him. But deep down, he feels like he failed them, like he let Bennett take away the life he'd built. One night, Isaiah's sitting on his couch, a glass of water in his hand, the TV on low in the background. He's flipping through his phone, scrolling through old messages, when he gets a call from a number he hasn't seen in years. Jamal Carter, his old lieutenant. Isaiah picks up, his heart beating a little faster. Jamal, he says, his voice rough. It's been a while, man. What's up? Jamal's voice is urgent, almost shaky. Isaiah, we've got a problem, he says. A big one. I need you to meet me. Now. I'm in Atlanta, at the diner on Peachtree. Can you make it? Isaiah doesn't hesitate. I'll be there in 20, he says, grabbing his jacket and keys. He tells Aisha he's stepping out, kissing her on the forehead, and heads to the diner, a small spot with neon lights and cracked vinyl seats. Jamal's already there, sitting in a corner booth, a cup of coffee in front of him, his face tense. He's still in the army, a captain now, but he looks like he hasn't slept in days. Isaiah, Jamal says as he sits down, his voice low. I didn't know who else to call. There's a coup being planned, right now, inside the army. Bennett's involved. Isaiah's blood runs cold, but he keeps his face steady. A coup? He says, leaning in, What are you talking about? Jamal takes a deep breath, glancing around to make sure no one's listening. Bennett's been working with a group of officers, guys who don't like how things are going, who think the government's too soft, he says. They're planning to take over the base, then move on DC. They've got weapons, soldiers, even some politicians on their side. They're set to move in 3 days, Isaiah. We're talking full-on rebellion. Isaiah's mind races, his old instincts kicking in. He knows Bennett's the kind of man who'd do something like this. Power-hungry, ruthless, willing to burn everything down to get what he wants. Why me? Isaiah asks, his voice low. I'm out, Jamal. They made that clear. Jamal leans forward, his eyes intense. Because you're the only one I trust, he says, and because you know Bennett better than anyone. You know how he thinks, how he moves. We need you, Isaiah. Your old team. We're still loyal to you. We can stop this, but not without you leading us. Isaiah sits back, his hands resting on the table, his mind spinning. He thinks about his kids, about Aisha, about the life he's built since the army kicked him out. He could walk away, keep his family safe, let someone else deal with this mess. But then he thinks about Bennett, about the smug look on his face 5 years ago, about the soldiers who die if this coup goes through. And he knows he can't walk away, not this time. All right, Isaiah says, his voice firm. I'm in. But we're doing this my way. We need a plan, and we need the team. Let's get to work. Over the next 48 hours, Isaiah and Jamal pulled together their old unit, 6 soldiers who'd follow Isaiah to the ends of the earth. There's Maria, a sharpshooter with a steady hand and a sharp tongue. Deshaun, a demolitions expert who can blow up anything. Lee, a tech whiz who can hack into any system. And 3 others, all tough, all loyal, all ready to fight. They meet in a rundown warehouse on the edge of the city, the kind of place no one would think to look. The air smells like dust and oil, and the only light comes from a few flickering bulbs hanging from the ceiling. They spread out maps, photos, and intel Jamal's been gathering, working late into the night to put together a plan. Isaiah's back in his element, his voice steady as he gives orders, his mind sharp as he pieces everything together. He knows Bennett's weaknesses, his arrogance, his need to be in control, his habit of underestimating people like Isaiah. They decide to infiltrate the base the night before the coup, using Lee's hacking skills to disable the security systems, Deshaun's explosives to create a distraction, and Maria's sharpshooting to take out key targets. It's risky, more than risky, but Isaiah knows it's their only shot. As the team works, Isaiah takes a moment to step outside, the cool night air hitting his face as he looks up at the stars. He thinks about his dad again, about the stories he'd tell of fighting in Vietnam, of coming home to a country that didn't care. We fought for more than ourselves, his dad would say. We fought for what's right. Isaiah knows that's what he's doing now, not just for revenge, but for his country, for his team, for the future his kids deserve. The night of the operation arrives and the air is thick with tension. Isaiah and his team move in under the cover of darkness, their black gear blending into the shadows as they approach the base. The sky is cloudy, hiding the moon, and the only sounds are the faint chirping of crickets and the occasional hum of a generator. They've got earpieces to communicate, their weapons loaded, their movements silent and precise. Lee hacks into the base's security system from a laptop in the van, shutting down the cameras and unlocking the gates. Deshaun sets off a small explosion near the east entrance, a loud boom that echoes through the night, drawing Bennett's soldiers away from the main compound. Maria takes her position on a nearby hill, her sniper rifle ready, picking off guards one by one with clean, silent shots. Isaiah leads the rest of the team inside, moving through the base like ghosts, their years of training coming back like muscle memory. They reach the command center, the same room where Bennett kicked Isaiah out 5 years ago. Now Bennett's there, barking orders to his men, a map of DC spread out on the table, red lines marking their plan to take the city. Isaiah kicks the door open, his gun raised, his team behind him. "It's over, Bennett," he says, his voice like steel. "You're done." Bennett spins around, his face a mix of shock and rage. "Jackson," he says, his voice trembling for the first time. "You're supposed to be gone. How?" "You underestimated me," Isaiah says, stepping closer, his gun steady. Big mistake. Bennett's men raise their weapons, but Isaiah's team is faster. Jamal and the others disarm them in seconds, cuffing them with zip ties and shoving them to the ground. Bennett tries to run, but Isaiah grabs him by the collar, slamming him against the wall, his face inches from Bennett's. "You took everything from me," Isaiah says, his voice low, his eyes burning. "Now I'm taking it back." Bennett struggles, but he's no match for Isaiah's strength. "You'll never stop this," Bennett spits, his voice desperate. "We've got people everywhere. You can't win." Isaiah smiles, a cold, hard smile that makes Bennett flinch. "Watch me," he says. He cuffs Bennett, dragging him out of the command center as his team secures the base. They call in the authorities, loyal military police who weren't part of the coup, who arrive within the hour to take Bennett and his men into custody. By morning, the coup is over before it even started. Isaiah and his team watch from a distance as Bennett's loaded into a military van, his head down, his hands cuffed. The sun's just coming up, casting a golden light over the base, and for the first time in years, Isaiah feels like he can breathe. The news spreads fast, headlines screaming about a failed coup attempt, about a rogue commander named Isaiah Jackson who came out of nowhere to save the day. The army reinstates Isaiah, not just as a commander, but as a colonel, giving him the rank Bennett stole from him. They offer him a medal, a big ceremony, the works, but Isaiah turns it down. "I didn't do this for a medal," he tells them, his voice quiet but firm. "I did it for my team, for my country, for what's right." Isaiah's team gets their own honors, each of them promoted, their names cleared of any association with Bennett's betrayal. Jamal stays by Isaiah's side, his new second-in-command, and the two of them start working on rebuilding the unit, making it stronger, better, a place where soldiers are judged by their actions, not their skin. Bennett's court-martialed, stripped of his rank, and sentenced to life in a military prison. The coup's leaders are rounded up, their plans exposed, their network dismantled. The government launches an investigation into systemic discrimination in the army, spurred by Isaiah's story, and new policies start to take shape. Policies that make sure no one else has to go through what Isaiah did. Back home, Isaiah sits down with Aisha and the kids, telling them the whole story over dinner, leaving out the scariest parts, of course. Malik and Nia listen with wide eyes, their forks forgotten, their faces full of pride. "You're a hero, Dad," Nia says, her voice soft, her smile big. Isaiah laughs, pulling her into a hug, feeling lighter than he has in years. Isaiah's story isn't just about revenge. It's about loyalty, about fighting for what's right, even when the odds are against you. He didn't just stop a coup. He made history, showing the world what a real leader looks like, proving that no one can keep a good man down, not for long. If this story got you hyped, hit that subscribe button for more like it.